If you can every month come to me and say, these are 5 things I noticed about your business and your numbers this month, these are 2 things you need to keep an eye on, I will pay big money for that, right? Because you don't have conversations with customers, you're stuck at the same place everybody else is stuck, and it doesn't give you those ideas for how do I differentiate, how do I position myself.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today we're kicking off a 2-part series with behavioral scientist and personal finance expert Etinosa Agbonlahor. In part 1, she explores why pricing is about so much more than numbers and how the way you think about your value can completely transform your bookkeeping business. Let's dive into that conversation right now. Etinosa Agbonlahor, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Great to have you. And, before we got on to the show and had our conversation, I was looking at your website and I was just taken aback by the amount of experience you've had in finance, in personal, behavioral, all around money. And if there was one thing that it's like always comes up when people talk about money, is how it makes people crazy. And so there's people that work to figure out how to make it less crazy for people. There's people that figure out how to make people buy things. There's all sorts of, how you budget, how you save money, how do you talk about money. And I have never met a person that's done so much research and had so much background in their education and the work that they've done around money. So this is for me really, and this podcast, I don't know if you could have a better guest. So our listener is sitting with bated breath. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Absolutely. So I fell into this work because I absolutely love personal finance, but I'll tell you about the career journey up to this point. So graduated from undergrad with a degree in psychology, but I'd always loved personal finance. I'm that kind of person who knew with my first salary exactly how much my salary was going to come to on a weekly basis. But I remember the very first time I got my first corporate job, got my first paycheck, I expected a certain amount of money and it was lower by 2/3. And I was deeply confused about what is going on. And I took it to my parents' first job. So I was living with my parents. I took it to them and they were like, oh, did you forget about taxes? And I was like, oh, right. It's always been into personal finance, always really cared about how the dollars and cents work at a macro level and then at a personal level. So I ended up going to get a master's in behavioral economics from the University of Warwick, did that, and then went to work for a big bank in Australia for a number of years where I ran their behavioral advisory portfolio. And so we did things like helping customers who were in early stage arrears cure faster. We did things like measuring the culture of the bank, helping customers improve their savings, helping customers connect better to home loan options, just a wide range of everyday financial well-being initiatives. And then I worked with a massive investment bank here in the US. And there we really focused on things like how do you help investors diversify their portfolios adequately, right? How do you shift behavior in a way that helps people get to a better place financially without necessarily making it burdensome, cumbersome, etc. And now I run Decision Alpha, which is a behavioral pricing and monetization firm. And we really focus on helping businesses set prices in a way that allows them to recoup the full value of what they offer to their customers. So businesses on average leave about 11% in profit on the table because they're either underpricing or copying their competitors' pricing. And we focus on using what we know about behavioral economics, using what we know about how people make financial decisions. What can we do to help you as a business owner make sure you're setting prices that will resonate well with your customer or with your client and allows you to gather that maximum value, get that 11% back. So that has really been the journey so far. That's where we started. That's kind of where we are.
Wow. What an interesting journey and a valuable one, I think. I would imagine you have no shortage of things to do and people to help, because not only the way people think about money and pricing is a whole nother kettle of fish, if you will, to deal with as a business. And our listeners talk about this often with each other in our community around pricing. How do you set pricing, determine pricing? It's always been this big hot potato that people in small business and bookkeepers are right there, where they have to price their own services, they have to price themselves. And so now you've got, that whole relationship with money, and you now need to put a price on it and your value and your time and all these things. So many people just put their head in the sand and just, do it wrong. And we have had lots of different experts on, and a lot of people are getting a handle on this. But let's maybe talk about that. What are some of the factors that go into determining what pricing, because that's what you're helping people do today, which is companies determine what that pricing would be. And it's interesting. I'd love to get your take on that, because I imagine there's a whole list of different angles you could look at this with.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing about pricing is, to your earlier point, is because it's so complex, yet it's so crucial. It's really the keystone. It's the most important thing in your business, really, because it's so complex, yet so important. A lot of people will put their heads in the sand and just, what are my competitors doing? That's what I'm going to do, right? A lot of businesses I spoke to, especially when they're smaller businesses, they say, I'm just going to do what my competitors are doing, and then maybe I'll undercut by 10%, and, maybe I'll try and get clients that way. And it never ends up working out. Never do that. It's not a good idea. But some things that go into pricing, some angles that people might want to approach it from, is just understanding what is the value that you create for your client, right? Pricing really needs to be a conversation around the value that you create, and ensuring that your customer understands and perceives that value as well. And then the dollars become just an interpretation of that value. So it really starts with just, what is the value I'm creating for different types of customers, right? Am I saving them time? Am I saving them money? What am I actually doing when it comes to the crux of it? And does my customer value that? And now, how do I put a dollar on that link between, I know what I bring to the table, they understand that it's useful to them. How do we translate that? So at its very crux, that is what pricing is. And so naturally, you're not going to set prices without talking to customers. And this is the one mistake I see almost everybody make. 80% of businesses actually underpriced or aren't priced adequately. And part of the reason is that they didn't talk to customers. They did not talk to prospects or potential customers. They wanted to set a price, and then they went to look at what their competitors were doing. How do you know your competitor is setting the right price? How do you know that they're not also making mistakes in their pricing? You must talk to customers, especially if you are a niche business, especially if you're, as a bookkeeper, maybe you service a specific type of industry that other people don't. Talk to customers. That's step one. So when we talk about pricing and we talk about how do we approach it, the easiest, most straightforward is just go talk to customers, talk to prospects, understand that they understand your value and what do we need to put that transitional value as in terms of dollars.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Introducing Dext, the #1 bookkeeping automation platform that makes your life easier. Dext captures your client's data with incredible accuracy and delivers it seamlessly into your workflow, integrating with over 30 accounting softwares. Imagine having more time to focus on what truly matters, like helping your clients, growing your firm, or taking a well-deserved break. With Dext, you can trust the data is accurately extracted, categorized, and submitted every time. What if communicating with your clients could be simple? Your clients can easily send in the records via mobile, email, or drag and drop. With built-in reminders, everyone stays on the same page, eliminating the hassle of endless email chains. Are you ready to streamline your bookkeeping processes? Join thousands of accountants and bookkeepers in the Dext community. Go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/Dext to book a demo today and see how Dext can make your work life easier. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. Very interesting. I mean, it's, my head's spinning already thinking about this. So, and I would say right away, what popped into my head when you were initially speaking is I just remember all of the times when I had spoken to a bookkeeping business owner. I said, well, how'd you come up with your price? They go, well, I called around. I called other bookkeepers and asked, pretended they pretended to, it's like a survey. They pretended to be a prospective client and said, well, how much do you charge? And now way back, let's go back 15 years ago, it was literally, how much do you charge? $25 an hour, $30 an hour, $40 an hour. I was like, okay, I charge the middle, the average of that. And that's I swear it's probably happening today still. No question. We all do it. You look around, it's like, okay, we're going to launch a new business. Let's go look online now and look at 10 different bookkeeping firms and try and figure out, well, what price are they charging? But they're probably done the same too. So it's like this crowdsourced error making.
And now we're in the middle. We're all just coasting in the middle, and none of us understands if actually we should be charging $165 an hour. But because we never talk to the customers directly to understand that value, we're all just stuck at this, what did you say, $45, $50 an hour, right? We don't even understand maybe a client would prefer if it wasn't hourly, if it was just like, hey, put me on a retainer. I will pay you $1,000 every single month, whether I use your services or not. I just want to have access to you when I need it, right? You don't understand if the client is saying, yes, I know you're a bookkeeper, but what I would pay big money for is insights from the bookkeeper. If you can every month come to me and say, these are 5 things I noticed about your business and your numbers this month, these are 2 things you need to keep an eye on, I will pay big money for that, right? Because you don't have conversations with customers, you're stuck at the same place everybody else is stuck, and it doesn't give you those ideas for how do I differentiate, how do I position myself.
Yes. Yeah, so true. And it's very refreshing. It's just like, forget about selling anything or charging anything. Just have a conversation. What are people looking for? What is keeping them up? Even saying, it's just like, what's bothering you? What's challenging you? What do you wish things could be, the way things could be? And just have that rolling dialogue to dig into what it is. Now, another question popped into my head is the whole idea of, we live in a digital world, right? And people are flipping around. I mean, me personally, I say I want to buy something. Okay, I'm looking around, I'm evaluating, I'm going through the evaluation mode, I'm looking at different competitors, and it's like, here's a price, there's a price, look at their list of services, reviews, these sorts of things. And then I look at their pricing, and some sites won't tell you, some sites will. It's like, and me personally, I'd be like frustrated. It's like, you have a pricing page, but I have to contact you to get the pricing. Now they're doing all of these things, but again, is it right? Is it wrong? I know how my experience is. And it's like almost that situation where, putting out the price, it's like you're fixing something and you might repel or attract. It's like, oh, well, I have a really valuable product. A bookkeeper, been in business for 20 years, has all this experience and education, and they do all these magical things, and they've transformed businesses. And they go to put a price tag on that in the website. It's like, well, gee, it's $10,000 a month to work with me. But if I put that, no one will ever want to work with me, right? So it's like, well, I'll put the, $3 a month to make sure that, well, we are affordable for everybody. So I'm sure this isn't new to you, right?
The one thing that you said that kind of stuck with me is the customer is price shopping, right? They're hunting around to what is the right bookkeeper. And if the customer is shopping, you don't want to be positioned in a way where where the only distinguishing factor that your customer who you're attracting is looking for is price, right? Like, I just want to find the cheapest possible. I assume they all do the same thing, right? I always think about it as if you're shopping and like say you're shopping in like a bazaar, right? Big open air bazaar, and like you go up and like everyone haggles, and that's how you get the best possible price. If you've traveled internationally, you've probably had that experience where
Yes.
like it's a big shop, you go in, you're expected that you will haggle to get to the right price. So you step in and you're haggling, you're gonna find the right price. But everyone who steps into that bazaar, we all look at them as the exact same. They're all the same customer. They're gonna come, they're gonna haggle, they're gonna get a price. Whereas if you shop somewhere at like a premium store, like let's say you go into a YSL or something, they're gonna sit you down, they're gonna offer you your water, they're gonna bring the products to you. There's no haggling, there's no negotiation. It's a very different environment. You're the exact same customer, you're the exact same person, but because you're in a different room, you're treated differently and the behaviors expected from you are different. Now you as a business need to think about what is the room I'm in? How do I position that room? Am I positioning myself in such a way that people expect, like, I'm the bazaar, I'm a t-shirt, I'm a commodity at the bazaar. So they're going to come and they're going to try and haggle and find the price? Or am I a refined, very expensive bag in a supermarket, in a high-end store? We're going to sit down and expect like a quieter, more comfortable shopping experience, and they're going to expect to part with way more money and not haggle. At the crux of it, it's positioning. Right. Instead of being the kind of bookkeeper where anyone can Google and compare you to 7 other bookkeepers doing the same thing, if you're a bookkeeper who says, I specialize in helping real estate investors, right away your competition is less. And then you're talking to a very different type of clientele. Right away, the comparisons look a little bit different. I'm not comparing to every bookkeeper out there. I'm comparing to all the bookkeepers who say they work with real estate investors. Right away, the language and the expectations are different because you positioned yourself as being in a different room. So what I'm saying is when people find themselves in a position where they're being compared like a commodity, I went online and I didn't see your price, and I went online and I saw this other person's price, and etc. It shouldn't be easy to compare you to other people. You should be distinct enough and positioned just a little bit enough that people go, oh, I care more about the value that they're going to bring to me, to the point where I want to double click, I want to send them an email, I want them to have a conversation with me about what it costs to work with them. I haven't even thought about the price. I'm so focused on this is what this person who focuses on my niche can do for me. Let's have that conversation. So again, it comes back to how do you position yourself? What room do you say you're in? And what kind of people are you trying to attract?
Very interesting, and that's great, and it comes down to how thinking about how you are positioning yourself. I love the analogy of the bazaar and the rooms, the different places that you're in, and if people haven't been to international to a bazaar, like a market, a street market, a country market, you go out there and it's like every single vendor looks identical, but then even in that, they're trying to differentiate. Oh, how much fruit do they stack up? What kind of fruit? We got a pile of corn. Get the corn. So I like the big piles of corn. So you walk over there, and now all of a sudden you're in a different room. Whereas before we were in like all the vendors are the same. Now we're down in the vegetable section. Now it's like, wow, this one's got big piles of corn. The peaches are stacked high. The baskets look full, and so now we're in a different room. And it comes back to what I'm taking away is that really important conversation. What do people perceive? Do they see you as different? Because some people might come and go, well, look at all that corn and it's all drying up and it's going to taste awful. Well, if that's, it's like you don't know, because all the people might have a different perspective. And those people, each person, there's categories of people that belong in the bazaar and some people belong in the YSL. And they're going to think very different around those things. So it's just getting to know your customer and how you position yourself. So the more you differentiate, the increased perceived value.
And differentiation doesn't always have to be this, like, I'm going to find the most niche possible thing, right? Sometimes differentiation is as simple as come up with unique processes or tools, right? The bookkeeping services you use might all be the same, but maybe you say, I have built a proprietary process. It is called the Michael Palmer bookkeeping system, and it saves owners an average of 10% every month in the time that they spend looking at their accounts, right? You can take what you do and just package it up and label it and say, I have my own system. It's proprietary. I built these tools that help you in XYZ ways. Differentiation doesn't always mean like, oh, I only work with realtors and that's what I do.
Great point.
Sometimes it's everything, I guess, unique things about how you do your work. Everyone has a uniqueness to the way they work. So what is that unique thing that you do in that unique way, and put a label on it, and then advertise with that, position yourself with that. That then allows you to command specific pricing, because how many other people have a Michael Palmer's proprietary bookkeeping system? Nobody, just you.
Yes.
So it's that conversation as well.
It's really cool, and I love that, and I think it works really well. It's a great thought for our listener in the bookkeeping space. Very easy to say, oh, it's like a bookkeeper. They're a dime a dozen. They're all everywhere, which they're not. They're very hard to find. The good ones are very hard to find. However, when they're trying to differentiate themselves, I love that concept of the Michael Palmer's bookkeeping firm, and telling the story. How'd you because when I looked at your website, I was like, wow, I was blown away by all of the science and the science-based study of pricing. If you're looking at two different people that talk and work and help people with pricing, my interpretation of you is like you have studied it for almost a lifetime. So it's like and that's what's left now in my head is it's like, oh, science-based, research-based, very interesting. That's appealing. Mm-hmm. For a bookkeeper, what's the journey that you've been on to end up where you are? It's like we worked with 100 different businesses, and I worked with 10 different industries and finally found this one because we found, it's like telling that journey of how you got to what you're doing today and why it's special.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Everyone can do that, right? It's even if you've only been doing it for a little bit of time, it's like, well, what'd you do in your pre-life that ended up bringing you here? And what were some of those amazing experiences or key experiences that led you here? That immediately differentiates everyone because everyone's walked a different path.
And making sure that also aligns to the value that your customer is going to be looking for, right? We say research-based, science-based because we are, but also I know that anybody who wants us to touch their pricing wants to know that we know what we're doing.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So I don't talk about, I've also been investing in real estate for 10 years and I wrote a book about how to talk to your parents about money. I don't talk about any of that because it's not relevant.
I did find that. I did see that somewhere and I was like, oh, whoa. No, I think it was in the note. And I was like, okay, wait a second. Because that's the incongruent. It's like the congruency.
Exactly.
And I was actually searching because I think I searched her name and I was like, she wrote a book but wait a second. She's, advising companies from a science base. She's got all these degrees, but you wrote this book. Now, after I figured it out, I was like, well, isn't that interesting? I didn't go too deep onto it, but I still thought it was still an important stack in who you were to me. But at any rate, continue.
Right. But if you are a company who wanted me to come work with pricing, you're like, happy for you about the real estate, could not care less, right? Talk to me about pricing and how it's valuable, right? So when you as a bookkeeper are thinking through, what is the narrative I put on my site? What are the things I'm going to highlight that my customers are going to care about? It's in my story, what are those things that are going to resonate with the customer? Is it, I've run a business before and I understand what it is to only check your bank account as an indication of your business health and not realize that even though the bank account is looking rosy, there's revenue leaking somewhere because my processes aren't stacked up and I wasn't keeping an eye on the numbers. I didn't know what's happening in my balance sheet, right? That conversation and those things from your past that you can highlight, you want to take a highlighter and basically underline the things that your customers are going to care about. Again, you got to talk to your customers and then that's what you surface at and what you use as your differentiation.
Well, that was a fascinating conversation. In part 2 of this chat, Etinosa takes us deeper, showing how subtle shifts can influence the choices clients make and open the door to higher earnings. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.